All right, guys. Today we are going to be reacting. Should paternity test be mandatory? Let's jump in.
Question and then.
Can I pee? I had like 3 Red Bulls.
Okay.
Does not give you wings.
Ladies, do you think mandatory paternity testing would hurt or help women in today's society?
I don't know. I feel like that's such a broad question because I feel like in some ways it could be harmful, but in other ways I think overall it would be helpful in terms of, you know, child support and knowing it. But it's like, that's odd because it's like, what's the circumstances? Is it just like for every birth there's a paternity test?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what ways would that be harmful?
Yeah, I was going to ask
Just
the
like,
same
because
thing.
like if like the person that is an abuser, someone who's like, you know, doesn't necessarily, they don't want to be tied to the person.
Well, I mean, if
That's-
it's that
Yeah,
person's...
but do you have a right to hide paternity based on the fact that the other person's abusive?
I mean, I would want to do anything to get out of it.
You think so?
I do, just because if you're abusive to me, what are you going to do with the child?
Yeah.
That doesn't, okay, listen,
That's
you
a
don't
strong
have a right to hide the paternity from a father based upon whatever your analysis is of abuse. I've heard things as ridiculous as this. Emotionally abusive.
Yeah, what the
which
fuck
means
is that?
nothing. It
Yeah.
means nothing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, it's not.
No, it's not
It's
crazy.
not. Because
Emotional abuse is nothing.
Yeah, it means nothing. It's
it
a
means nothing.
subjective
It's
analysis.
subjective. It's
Yeah.
subjective.
Wow.
Interesting.
There
That's
we
an
go.
interesting
Well, listen,
perspective.
it's
That's shame right there. They're trying to guilt you. They're trying to guilt you.
it is subjective. Give me an objective standard
I mean,
for
I
what's
don't think
emotional
that's
abuse.
subjective in the terms of psychology at all.
Yeah, it is.
Yes,
it's
yes,
most
it
subjective in
literally-
psychology.
Exactly.
It's a subjective analysis. So like, let me give you an example. I can give you a really easy one, okay? Let's say that you're going out and you're overspending from my perspective. Like, let's say I'm married to a woman and I say, listen, you're overspending, okay? And you say, well, listen, I really need to spend this because I need X, Y, and Z for the household. You think the paper towel holder and this and that is very important. Maybe it is. Maybe it is important. And I think it isn't. So I go and I cut off your access to that threshold of money and give you a lesser threshold of money that I think is appropriate and you don't think is appropriate. Is that abuse?
In that specific scenario, there's just like several factors to whether or not something is or isn't financial
It's
abuse.
because it's subjective. That's why.
And it's predicated on how the
we
woman
can agree
feels
that-
about
Wait,
what you say.
hold on.
Because
Hold on. Go ahead.
And it's predicated on how the woman feels about what you say. Like a lot of women just don't take kindly to being criticized at all. They don't take kindly to a guy. Even if a guy gets moderately upset and he raises his tone a little bit, you have women who will consider that emotional abuse. That's not
I
emotional.
don't, but I mean, to me, emotional
Yeah.
abuse is like verbally saying really degrading, horrible things, and like a systemic thing over systemic thing over time. Excuse me. And so, I mean,
Like
yeah, maybe
systemic-
I didn't initially understand the point you were trying to make with the suggestive, because
Subjective,
Sorry, I'm
yeah.
stuttering really bad
It's okay.
right now.
It's okay.
But in terms of emotional abuse being a factor, I think is important, though it is suggestive.
So subjective.
Thank you, subjective.
Yeah.
Even though it is subjective, it is something that, I mean,
Well,
has
that-
long-standing effects on both
Yeah, right,
parent and
but-
child. But when my initial point, I was thinking more so abuse of the other aspects, because emotional is, it is impactful, but it's not as
Have you guys noticed how much trouble she's having trying to define emotional abuse? Because that is subjective.
dangerous to like the health of the child versus the other ones.
So let's move into, okay, if fair enough, you say, okay, when it comes to this, it's subjective, so maybe we wouldn't hide paternity on that. But if we move over to physical abuse, let's say, right? You think that that's cut and dry. Well, what if this guy, he's convicted of physically abusing the mom? Then shouldn't we be able to hide paternity? If she says, yeah, I still say no, and here's why. Because plenty of people get accused of doing domestic violence or doing things like this, and they haven't actually done it. And so we're going to yield to the word of the woman in this case and hide the paternity of that man's child for something which could easily be a falsehood. That's immoral to the utmost in my worldview.
Okay, and I see that, but for me, it's like, if you're talking about a mandated paternity test, then at that point, that's the government getting involved in between the relationship and the personal affairs of people.
But the
And
government already is. That means if that child's not yours, the government now is determining that you have to pay child support, even though we have the evidence that it's not yours.
I am the kind of person that prefers to step off of unnecessary, like, government
Wait,
control.
I have a
You're a
question.
communist. You want the government involved in the life, literally every
Who
single
the
aspect
hell
of-
said I was a communist?
did.
When?
Didn't
I
you
thought-
earlier? Didn't
No,
you say you were a
I was
communist?
talking about capitalism, and you said the word communism when that word never left my mouth.
So socialism?
I mean, first, I'm not really here to debate politics.
Okay, I'm just
I didn't-
asking this.
I came here to talk about
Are
dating.
you a socialist?
I mean, I consider myself a leftist.
Okay, yeah, you don't care if government's involved in your life for all kinds of stuff. What, did you care if the government was involved in my life when there were certain mandates going on around? You didn't give a shit. But now suddenly you care about. Now
I didn't
suddenly
give a
you
shit about
care
what
about
mandates.
this.
Can you?
Hold on.
I
hold
can't
on.
get into
Let's-
that.
let's
I'm
not
not
get
going
into
to.
it.
But you know what I'm
Look.
saying.
Yeah, okay, I do now. Yes.
Yeah.
But
Wait, I have a question. You said when it comes to you wouldn't want the government involved with mandatory paternity testing.
over people's
but,
autonomy.
But let me ask you a question. Let's say, do you want kids one day?
no.
Oh, okay.
So this is honestly for
Okay.
me. This is just like a thing that I don't really want to do.
Hold
I
on.
mean, that was kind of an asshole move, but
Let's keep
that
it nice.
was a
Let's
real
keep it nice.
asshole move.
Yeah, let's keep it nice, guys. Let's keep it nice, okay?
Because some people are smart enough to know what's best for them, and for me in my life,
Okay.
I don't want to have.
Brian, you have to pull frame here. You have to pull frame. This is where you need to step out and you pull frame because she's testing. See, she's over aggressive.
Have children.
Just let me ask the question, okay?
But I would, if I wanted to,
Okay.
be a good mother.
Okay, so my question is though, do you think you said you wouldn't want the government involved when it comes to paternity testing, whatever? So are you not in favor of child support? Women receiving
My-
child support, for example.
So I believe that whoever has the child should have support from the other partner, regardless of their gender. I think that if
Okay.
a single father has the full custody of the child, which which is enforced by the courts.
The state.
The government. But
state, yeah.
you said you don't want the government involved with mandatory paternity testing, so I'm just confused. But
Well,
you're,
I mean, look, the government has its role. All right, the government has its role, and I don't. I mean, at the end of the day,
but you do realize that, like, for example, in a child support dispute,
Mm-hmm.
that the government would actually require if the
yes,
man
and then
disputes
that's a case
paternity.
by case basis. But when you're putting in a mandated paternity test, then that is adding a complicated layer of paperwork and testing.
No, it's just literally
for-
you're already in the hospital. It's actually the perfect scenario to
But like,
have
does that apply to
paternity leave.
married?
conditions couldn't be
Here's
better,
my further
could they?
questions: is
Yeah.
like, does that apply to married couples or couples that are still together,
Yeah.
or are we okay?
Yeah, everybody.
Okay.
Anyways, here, let's just go around the table so anybody can
literally
answer
everybody.
this. Do you think mandatory paternity testing would hurt or help women in today's society?
Would mandatory paternity tests hurt or help women?
In today's
Or
society.
just be good?
That's one of the super chat questions.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have any children, but I don't see why it would be a problem.
Okay, Madison?
I feel like with the way, not all women, but a majority of women are moving nowadays, like it could be very harmful to their children and the
Wait,
man.
What would
do
be
you mean?
harmful?
Paternity testing, like if they found out the
Like breaking up
child's
families.
dad was not the guy that she was with, like that would be breaking their family apart.
It's a,
From a mandatory place. I mean, I see your point.
I don't.
what about the truth?
No, I think the truth is great. I think,
Okay.
yeah, no,
Wait,
absolutely.
but-
Everyone should know the truth, but I think it's going to be terrible for the children if the truth
Oh,
is
so
revealed.
you're in favor-
That's what
are
I'm
you in
saying.
favor of
with the way a
paternity
lot of women
testing?
are moving nowadays, they're like a lot of children aren't going to be having
I
dads
see.
anymore.
So it would be bad for women, but you don't object to paternity testing.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm for it.
So you acknowledge. Okay, I see. Are you in favor of that, Andrew? It sounds like.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that the rates of paternity which are lied about is wildly understated. And yeah, absolutely. I think that if mandatory paternity testing was done, there would be
It would be
there
bad,
would be
folks. It'll be 5, folks. I mean, 3 out of 10. It's a lot, bro. Right now, it's 3 out of 10, so 30%. In some states, it's higher. And I think in Tennessee, I think it was Memphis, they passed a law where now it should be mandatory, and they consider it a fraud, actually. So that means I think for couples that are not married, I think it was. But even that in itself is just trying to go slow, because the problem is a lot of states and cities, they receive federal fundings, right? I don't know what was the argument about, but they receive money, so that's why that's why the obvious hasn't been implemented as a law. Meaning, if you get married, it happens to be the kid is not your hetero. I think there's something fraudy over here. But the government, there's a lot of simps, so we're here.
Significant problems for women, but the kind of problems that I think they should see, which is responsibility. Forever inside of human society, men did not have this.
Right.
We'd never had the luxury of we had to always take the word of the woman as to paternity. We don't have to do that now, and we absolutely shouldn't do it now. And even if it's not mandatory, everybody should get one no matter what, always. Period.
And just
Of course. And I have I have what I would consider 100% faith and trust in my wife. Mm-hmm. But I told her, I told her these words exactly. You're going to get the fucking test, and if not, I'm out the door. Period.
Well, also,
that's not emotional abuse.
Yeah. Well, there also
emotional abuse.
that would be considered emotional abuse. Exactly.
How is that 100% trust and faith? I mean, it's your prerogative to do that, but
okay. Well,
it's not for her; it's for me.
Yeah. Well, it's also
That's
there
not
are also
trustworthy.
cases where like the hospital will jumble up babies.
No, it's not.
It's as much
100%
trust as I can
Antithesis
give
of
you.
trust.
It's as much trust as I can give.
Yes,
you.
because you can't confirm that. There's no
make
way for a
someone
man to
guarantee
confirm that.
something, that's not trust.
Well, where's the trust back the other way? Just being like, okay, yeah, no problem.
Wait, Andrew.
If there was ever
I mean,
any
yeah,
resistance.
that's how that works. That's how trust works.
Yeah.
She's not combative. I think in one of the last videos, she's trying not to, trying to be combative, put her will now. It's not going to work.
What is the what's the pitch to, like, how would you say that? Because I feel like if I were to say that to a girl, I could see her like
Dumping
my
down.
wife or when I'm having kids.
What could she
Get the fucking paternity
what possible argument could a woman have towards asking you to get a paternity test other than it makes her feel bad?
If she's unfaithful.
Or like you don't trust.
Other than it makes her feel bad. What could the argument possibly be? Give me a single argument
I think
other
it would
than
only be if
because
she
it
was
makes me
unfaithful.
feel bad. I want to hear it.
But
Because
why
there's
would
not
you
full
want to
trust
make
in
her
the
feel
relationship.
bad?
So that's I feel bad.
if you're worried that she'd be cheating on you, why would you even want to?
So that's I feel bad? It's I feel bad?
Saying clearly we don't have a strong foundation. Sorry.
That's I feel bad.
No, it's not. It's saying we don't have a strong foundation.
Why would that matter if it didn't make one of them feel bad?
Because she could say, like, if we don't have a strong foundation of trust and faith.
Because it makes her
No,
feel
she
bad.
could feel neutral about it and still be like, oh, okay,
so
he
if
doesn't
she-
trust
so
me.
wait a second,
And
she
maybe
feels
he's gonna be,
neutral?
maybe he's gonna be constantly
If she
anxious
feels
this whole
neutral about it,
relationship.
if she feels neutral about it,
That's why I have to talk
if she
fast,
feels
yeah.
neutral about it,
You
who
gotta let her
cares?
finish her point.
Say your point.
If
Go ahead,
if she
Farah.
feels neutral about it, then who cares?
I'm
Good
saying
part.
if you don't have trust in a relationship, typically that will lead to a bad relationship, regardless if the parties in the relationship feel bad about it or not. That was my only point.
Yeah, but that's the only argument is feel bad.
No, it's not. I literally said it doesn't matter if they feel bad or
Because
not. She
if
can
one of
object
them-
and say clearly we don't have a strong foundation.
38 donated $200. Love your hair, Maddie. GL with your marriage. Brian, love the Andrew Marathon. Shout out Crucible.
Yo, go
Taking
sub this
Farah as
Crucible.
my wife. KTHX.
Okay, thanks. Yo, Bone Man, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Welcome. Good to see you back in the
Nah,
chat, man.
that's
Go ahead, Farah, with your.
See the simpers, man. You see, man, a lot of these problems because we have a lot of simps. You see the simp right here, taking Farah as my wife. You just inflated her ego, man. Like, bro, you do what the hell you want, but there's a lot of simps, man.
Point.
I completed it.
Yeah, so
Oh, she completed it.
The only reason that the trust variable is there is because it would make one feel bad over the other. That's it.
I don't know
So
if
the
that's
only
true.
argument you would make for the trust is you don't trust me, and that what, Farah? You don't trust me, and that makes me.
But it doesn't have to make you feel bad.
I
to
literally
Then why
just
would it
said-
matter?
coming
Why
from,
would
though.
it
It's the
matter?
basis of a relationship.
It's a foundation
Because
relationship.
if
Yes,
it's not,
exactly.
and why is it a foundation?
Okay, what about this?
It's based on how
Maybe you don't
people
care
feel.
or not. You're completely apathetic to whether your wife cheats on you, but maybe you still don't want her to do that, even if you have no emotional reaction to it, because you think that creates an unstable foundation for a relationship.
Then
even if you're completely apathetic and maybe you're a cuck and you get
Then
off
why
to
would you
it.
care about the paternity paternity test. How would that be an argument if it's just a neutral?
You were saying, what is an objection to
Right,
your
Yeah, but how
boyfriend
would that
asking
be an
you for a
objective?
paternity test?
Yeah,
And I'm
how-
saying you could say, we're missing an important tenet of our relationship, an important pillar that isn't contingent on me feeling good or bad about it. That was my only point.
Then if you don't feel good or bad about it, why would it be an important pillar?
Same way I told you, maybe if your wife's cheating on you, but you don't necessarily care, wouldn't you agree that that could have adverse effects on the relationship, regardless
So
about
those-
how you feel
well,
about
so
it personally?
Those would be like the adverse effects that you would be talking about are like her getting pregnant,
No, not necessarily.
her giving you a VD,
even if she was infertile.
her giving you VD,
What is that?
venereal disease.
I don't think those would be your only objections to your wife stepping out
other
on you. I
than
think
how
from
that
your,
makes you feel, then I don't
I think
understand
from
the
your-
objective.
You're religious. From your Christian
Yeah.
purview, you could probably outline a plethora of reasons for why you wouldn't want your girlfriend or wife to be sleeping with other people, other than it makes you feel bad. You'd probably think it, has adverse
Yes,
outcomes.
that's
on the
true. I could
relationship.
appeal to an objective standard. Yes,
Yes, and most
but
people
this
in
is not.
relationships
What
appeal
objective
to
standard are you appealing to?
usually the tenets of trust in a relationship.
That's not an objective standard. It's a subjective standard.
And most relationships subscribe to that. Obviously, people can deviate from that. But
Yeah, but
I think
that's a subjective standard. And at the end of the day, the only reason you appeal to that subjective standard is because if I don't trust you and you don't trust me, one of us feels bad.
I just told you there's many instances where you might not feel
There's
bad,
not
but
a
you still might have
single
a
one of those
standard.
that doesn't really boil down to it made the other person feel bad.
And so in
No.
your opinion, feel bad. He
There
just
you go. There you go. She's right here. She's waiting for it, but she don't know what to say. This one, little girl from Oregon. I don't know where she's from, but you can tell that she's too slow for this conversation. Far as trying to make an argument, she doesn't. She's just going in circles.
No, you even created a hypothetical neutral. So you said, hypothetically, what if neutrally it didn't make you feel bad for your wife to go out and do this thing? Then what would be her objection?
Okay, what if I found out my husband cheated on me and I genuinely have zero emotional reaction to it, but I still want to dump him? Did I dump him because it makes me feel bad, or because I feel like we don't have a strong foundation,
what would-
because there's dishonesty and there's a lack of trust?
Why would, I don't understand. Why do you want the honesty and the trust inside of the relationship if you don't care if he cheats?
to be able
It's not
to
about
rely
don't
on that.
care. I can care without it making me feel bad.
Yeah, but, okay, so you care, but it doesn't make you feel bad?
That could happen, yeah.
How?
You can't control your emotional
happen.
response to something. Maybe you find out someone cheats on you, or you found out your husband, texted another girl, and you're like, okay, this violates
And you
my
would
boundaries.
care about that
People have
because
boundaries that
it makes you feel bad.
People have boundaries that aren't always directly, purely correlated to their feelings about it.
Oh, really? So if guy is texting and you don't care, that means...
It's not about don't care. It maybe doesn't make me feel bad.
Oh, if it doesn't make you feel
I'm
bad,
saying I
then
can
you don't
about
care,
it.
right?
I don't agree with that.
You don't?
No.
So you care if a guy's texting another person even if it doesn't make you feel bad?
I would still care. Even if in that moment I felt apathetic about it, I would still end the relationship. Even if I personally didn't cry about it.
Even though you didn't care?
Even if I didn't cry about it or
Why
feel
would you
sad
do
or
anything?
insecure.
Why would you do anything at all if you didn't care?
Right.
That makes no sense. That's the
Yeah, wow.
stupidest thing I've heard out of you tonight. Why would you do anything?
Gotta own. She never listened to what she was saying. Yep. It's all a mess, folks. All a mess. I'll see you in the next one, folks.